Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Doorknob Confessions. I'm so excited to be here with you. Diane is here with us as well. And today you'll hear a little bit from producer Nick because we wanted to chat about the kind of generations and nostalgia and things like that. And we have kind of three generations present. So I am full on millennial. Nick is cusp of Gen X and millennial, and Diane is cusp of millennial and Gen Z. So we have like some interesting different perspectives here. But welcome. How are you doing, Diane?
I'm doing good. I was like looking at the different generations, and they do say that people who are born from like 1996 to 1998 are kind of in like that limbo space. And I definitely resonate with that because I was not allowed to have a MySpace, although I really, really wanted one. And Facebook, I was also not allowed to have. I was a very sheltered child. I was not allowed on the internet at all. Which in hindsight, I totally agree with my mom on that. But as a middle school tween, I was very upset.
Yeah, you feel like you're being like left out of like the things that other kids are doing. And like we were just saying that, in like the 90s and like early 2000s, things just moved and changed so fast with the internet that, it was kind of mind blowing. And I was mentioning that like, I'm on TikTok all the time. I'm a TikTok addict. And I've been seeing these posts that are really like, they make me laugh because I also am like, wait, like you guys didn't experience this necessarily, like, and especially younger Gen Zers or even mid Gen Zers. But I see a lot of Gen Z posts about this kind of nostalgia for, the millennial, being a teen in like, the mid to late 2000s and like going to college from like, around 2006, 2007 to like the early teens of the 2000s, because it was a time. It was a time, you guys. Like we had a lot of fun.
Well, I think the lack of technology, I think it was just enough technology for everyone to be able to be so connected with one another, but also like not disconnected from themselves. And I think that was like the big key there.
Yeah. Like I remember, like when I was in middle school, the thing was AOL, like AIM, like AOL Instant Messenger. That was like what we had. And I remember we would go to school and like people you would never talk to in school, like the popular boy or whatever, like you could get on AIM and like you would have conversations with them. And then at school, they wouldn't even look at you. Like it was the most bizarre thing. Or you put like angsty like lyrics to songs as your away message.
Oh yes. I remember like, okay, so I was flirting with this boy on AIM and my mom found it because I didn't know that they store all of your conversations in like a folder. And my mom found the folder and this woman printed these messages out. Like it was like a thick ass packet.
Stop
I
it.
had never been more mortified in my life. It was
oh my
just
God.
awful.
Wait, so what did she do with this?
She was just like, look at what you've been messaging. I was like, I'm sorry. Like crying.
That's so traumatizing.
She was like, just because you think you're grown doesn't mean you're actually grown. It was bad. I didn't get my ass physically beat, but it felt like a beating for sure.
Oh my God. No, that's so mortifying. Like printing out pages. Like kudos to her for knowing even how to do that. I don't even know that I know how to do that.
Girl, I know. My mom's better at technology than I am, even now.
That's amazing. We have to have her on someday. But like, yeah, like that was the time like you were connected like into real life like most of the time, right? Because like we didn't have computers we had like computer lab in school that like maybe we would do like an hour a day of like, whatever, like computer games or whatever that was. But like if you wanted to be on the internet, you had to basically go home, dial up, which means like it was plugged into your phone line, which means that your house phone, because we had house phones, which was a whole other thing, landline, like wasn't connected. So people couldn't call you unless you like unplugged your internet. Like you couldn't use your house phone and the internet at the same time. And like sometimes it would just like not get on, not upload, whatever. But like it wasn't something that, was so pervasive in our lives. The internet was like not like how we lived, we like went out, we did things, we played, we were like present, and then like we got into like the MySpace era where I feel like that was like the beginning of, and I'm sure there's like other social media platforms, but for me that was like the beginning of kind of social media. And it was brutal, you guys. Like, for those of you who don't know, like, MySpace, first of all, allowed you to like curate it so you could have a song playing on your page, which of course like represented you, how you were doing and like what you were feeling and thinking. It was like, whoa, like if someone comes on, they know that I'm in this kind of a mood. And like most of us were like emo, so like it was like sad like rock
Grunge.
music, grunge
Yes.
music. And that was really cool. But what was brutal about it was that you had your top 10, right? Or was it top 8? I can't
It was,
remember.
I think it was your top 10, but then like it would only show like the first like 6 or 7. So it's like if you're not in the like column where they can like see your face on your profile, it's like our friendship is over.
Yeah, like so basically MySpace was like you put who your top like 10 or top 8, like so they could see like friends are, and you would connect their page and they would see their photo and their name and whatever. This shit started wars, like wars. So like I remember there was this one time where this girl got knocked out of like first place for this other girl's page, and they went to school and had like a screaming match about it because she's like, why am I number 2? Like, oh, why is like Jessica number 1? Like, how, like, I didn't even know you guys were friends. And it was like, it was like so anxiety provoking to check and see if you had like dropped down in someone's list. So you literally ranked your friends. And then that that was brutal, I feel like.
Oh, that's so brutal. And it's also just like the social, but here's the thing, right? Like people have that now. Like I used to teach middle school and it's like, oh, you didn't follow me back, or like you don't have me on your close friends list, or like you have a Snapchat streak with them. It's just like it's just different variations of basically the same thing, which is kind of funny. We can see patterns in like technology and social interactions that way too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Wait, do you have a Snapchat?
I have one, but I don't use it. I have one because I have photos of me saved inside of Snapchat from when I was like in college partying it up, and that's when I met my soon-to-be husband. And so I don't want to like just like get rid of those pictures, but I don't know also
Yeah.
like how to import them, and I'm definitely not going through them and importing them individually. So it's just in like it's like a photo graveyard for me.
It's like a museum, an archive of sorts.
Truly, truly. And I definitely like when I have kids, I am fucking deleting all of that shit because they don't need to see that.
No, like for real, like I had to I like years ago, I was like went on my Facebook and I had like all these pictures because like back in the day like Facebook kind of came around when I was just getting into college, and it was like, okay, that's where you posted all your photos from going out, and like it was like the kind of thing where you wanted to show you guys partying and like getting fucked up and like going out to the clubs, going out like doing things, having fun, house parties, things like
Oh my
basement
gosh.
parties or parties that were in the middle of the woods. Did you ever, was that a thing for you?
Yes, bonfires.
Like, well, that sounds very formal. We never had like a
No,
bonfire. We
no,
just
no,
were
no. It
like,
would
okay, we can't party at our house, so like we have to go like into the
okay.
woods.
So the town that I lived in had it was like it was definitely not a formal thing. It would be like let's have a party in the woods, like but we would call it a bonfire. So we would never call it a party, and so we would never get in trouble because the sheriff was like very
Oh,
he had a lot of free time. So he would always be hanging out around these parties. And so when we would frame it, we figured out that when we frame it as a bonfire, we wouldn't get in trouble
that's
because it's an
so smart.
innocent little campfire.
I love that. I love that. Oh my God, this is bringing back so many memories. I'm not going to lie, like the nostalgia is real because, like, yeah, we would do these things. We would like, parents weren't like tracking us. We didn't have like trackers on our phones. I think at the time too, it was like, I grew up like in the 90s where it was like, okay, like, you don't have a phone, but like, go play with your friends outside and just come back when the sun sets, and like
Mhm, mhm.
parents didn't know where we were, like what we were doing. And we were fine. I mean, we weren't doing anything that crazy, but like it's that sense of like freedom and like having that space to just like go do your own thing and have fun. And then like they would trust that we would come home and not get kidnapped because it wasn't like a thing being kidnapped. It was like, they were just like, if anybody in a van tells you they have candy, don't get in it. And that's it.
I have this theory that kidnapping, I mean, I think there's always, it's a double edged sword because I think technology definitely makes it harder for those like awful things to happen in the world because everybody has a phone and everyone's looking at what is it called? Amber Alerts and stuff. But I also have this theory that like people weren't as sick and twisted as much. I mean, there's always going to be outliers because porn wasn't so readily available.
That is a really good theory, and I back you up on that. I back you up on that. No, for sure. It was like if you wanted to look at porn, you had to go physically into a store, rent a VHS tape, go or like buy a magazine, and then actually face somebody at a checkout to like rent
Yeah, like
whatever thing you were renting. Like it was
there's so many
harder.
opportunities of shame. Like you feel so much shame going to the store. You feel shame for people staring at you, and you're just like, ah, shit, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, yeah. And there's something to be said for also like I think there's been such a rise in like extreme like porn that like is very I mean it's like violent or it's like really dangerous or it edges on like pedophilia, you know, and things like that
Totally.
that I agree. I think it's like kind of contributed to the fuel of like what we're seeing today happening with like so much trafficking and kidnapping and things like that. I agree. I think that's an interesting theory. I agree. I want to like look up some stuff on that. See if there is any research. Like my science nerd is coming out.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, because like I watch like sometimes I try not to, but sometimes it'll pop up on my TikTok where people will dress up and like role play as like 13-year-olds to catch like online predators
I've seen
online.
those.
And it is really terrifying. And I don't know if you get these posts where they're like, yeah, I as a woman have been hit on more from the ages of 11 to 16 than I was as like a 21 to 28-year-old. And I totally resonate with that. Like I
Yeah.
remember getting hit on at like 16 years old, even as young as like 11, 12 years old. I did develop pretty quickly as a kid. Like I developed young, like, faster than most of my peers, but it's kind of like crazy if you think about it. Like the fact
Yeah,
that that even happened.
it's wild. It's totally wild. I'll never understand like why there are people who are attracted to like little kids like that. I mean, because you're still at 11 or 12, like you're even if you developed, like that's weird. Like that's really young. And to be like into that is just, ugh, I don't know, just like disgusting. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, back to like the whole thing about kind of like not being tracked all the time. Like, I think that also helped us kind of develop our personalities more and to feel more independent and to kind of have
Mhm.
experiences that, are ours that like, we
Mhm.
can choose to share or not. And now I feel like life is so curated and like these
Mhm.
kids are like so constantly inundated with like I need to make this look good for my snap or I need to make this look good for Instagram. Like it's kind of really destroyed this, ability to be in the present moment and just have fun. And who cares what your face looks like? Who cares like what you're, like if you're like awkwardly posed, but you're not like now it's like I need to look cool. I need to like look a certain way. Not saying that we
Mhm.
didn't feel that way, but I don't think there was the same pressure to be as performative as there is now, you know?
Oh, 100%. And I do think that it's like there's like a whole other world virtually that people kind of live in now. It's like there's real world and then there's kind of like the secondary world that's like metaverse vibes.
Yeah, I feel that too. I feel like the internet is like kind of where people live now. And I mean,
Mhm.
myself included, like I'm super guilty. I'm like on Instagram and TikTok, like mostly TikTok, like all the time. I don't
Mhm.
post as much there anymore, but yeah, I mean, like those were the days, right? Like we would go to like house parties, basement parties when people's parents were out of town and they didn't have cameras in their house or anything, so they didn't know we were there doing that.
Yeah, the
Right?
ring
Like there was no
camera.
ring cameras. There was nothing that. So like someone would be like, "Hey, like, I'm having a party at my house. Like, my older brother's in college. He's going to buy us some beer and like, just come on over and, my parents are out of town. It's going to be great." And we would and like everybody would show up and I remember so many times like especially in high school, like the cops would show up because I was in a pretty small town as well. And as soon as they showed up, like it was like mayhem. People were like jumping fences to like not get caught and like, like running into the woods and things like that. That's why I think like forest parties were more fun because like they would have to find us, you know what I mean, and have to know the
Yeah.
location.
There's no
um
fences to jump.
yeah, but it was like, I mean, looking back, it was like some of the most exciting, fun kind of times of my life. And I don't know that I would be able to have that same experience today. I just don't think it exists, you know, because
Mhm.
there's surveillance. There's so much like ring cameras, there's phones, there's tracking, there's all this stuff, you know, and I just don't think there's that same kind of wild freedom that like, you know, we may have had like in the past.
Oh, absolutely. Which does kind of bring to question of like, I wonder what that does for the trust that they feel or that they get to experience from like their parents, you know, like, oh, you don't trust me. Like, I remember my parents getting cameras for the outside of the house. And that was kind of, I was like a year before like moving out. And so it was definitely like in my later years. And so I had a car already. It was a little bit different. But I do imagine like, I just remember thinking me like, oh shit, like you guys don't trust me and that's why you're getting cameras. And they're like, no, there's just been a lot of robberies and we want to protect our home. But you know, as like a 15, 16-year-old, you're just like, fuck, like you don't, I can't do shit.
Yeah. And actually, you bring up a really, really good point. And this is something I've been thinking about too. And I know like I'm going to get like both sides of like responses on this from parents because I think this is like a very controversial thing right now. There's a lot of danger in the world. I think like, you know, we want to make sure our kids are okay. I'm a mom now. Like I'm thinking about how I'm going to handle this when Ellie gets older. So there's this idea of like, you know, I saw this thread on TikTok, of course, where parents were talking about like, of course, I'm going to like have a tracker on my child's phone. Of course, like I'm going to know where they are at all times. And I know that there's
Mhm.
this like need to make sure your child is protected, but also I think that there needs to be like a trust that you have with your kid that, you know, you guys have good communication. They communicate with you where they're going, whatever. And also that like kids, like not little kids, but like once they hit like their late teens and they're in college, like they need to be able to live their lives and also like not tell you everything about what's going on unless they really feel like they want to. Like that's part of
Mhm.
building that trust. Like as a parent, you are not their prison guard, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And like that I think destroys some of that self-esteem and that trust that they have and you have together, because you know they feel like they need to hide from you or they know that you're watching them 24/7. I don't think that's a really healthy thing, you know. And
Mhm.
again, it's like it depends on the age of the, you know, child and all of that, of course, but like
Mhm.
I don't think like surveying your child is a healthy dynamic to have with them.
No, I totally agree with that. And it's definitely like a double-edged sword, right? And I do think like for me personally, I thought about it and it's like, okay, well, maybe it's a matter of communicating why surveying is happening. Like, it's not about you, it's not about, you know, what you're doing, but it's more so about like the world. But I do think there has to be a lot of open communication when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then the last part of this, I was saying before we started recording, was this funny, very specific nostalgia for lost club culture that I was actually really, really surprised to hear that. I mean, I'm old as fuck. I'm 36. I mean, I know that's not like super old, but I feel old. And I haven't been to a club in like, oh my God, like 15 years. So it wasn't something that like I was thinking about, but apparently like Gen Z, like they don't really go to the club. It's not a thing. And they heard about like, you know, our experiences and we went in like full heels, mini skirt, dressed to the nines. Like we would dance until we were sweating everywhere, disgusting, like all night long, like having a blast. And that's just not the culture that you see now at clubs or like dancing things. Like there was this kind of just like free for all, and especially like in the Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, like before her
Oh,
breakdown. Like during those days, it was like, and I mean, I got the privilege of like going clubbing in LA when they were out clubbing as well. And those places, like there were no cameras. You know, you could be standing next to like all kinds of celebrities and it was like very low key and have a blast and like hang out in one room, one space. There was paparazzi outside and stuff, but like inside the club, like it was just like this kind of safe space to just like let loose and have fun without any judgment. And now, like, it's, I guess, changed a lot. And there's some nostalgia for that, which surprised me.
oh, 100%. And I think too, like, you're like, there was something that happened online where somebody was being kind of rude to like a Porto's, you know, waiter, I think. And that got like 20 million views on TikTok. And the next day, I know somebody who worked at Porto's, they told me that she was reprimanded for that, like interaction. And
Mm.
so even when you're not like surveillance in a club or in wherever situation, some stranger could just be filming you right now and it'll blow up on TikTok and you might get fired.
I hate that. That's so scary. It's like everywhere you go, like everyone has a camera on you, and that
Yeah.
kind of feeling is like not it's not great. And who got reprimanded? The person who worked there who was also getting yelled at? Really? Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Because they were like, they were getting yelled at, so they yelled back.
Yeah, which rightfully
And
so. Like fuck that bitch.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that and I think too that's why like so many like celebrities, not that I really care anymore, but like how they've all like live in their compounds now. Like you used to be able to like see them out and about and everything, but now everybody has a camera, so like they're not out, they're hiding in their big
Oh my
multi-million dollar
god.
mansions, which I mean, it's I don't know that I really care, but it's an interesting thing to witness. But it makes me anxious to go outside like all the time because I'm like, not that anything is going to happen, but there's this over kind of arching sense of you're being watched
Mhm.
always,
Mhm.
and like that is intense.
That's super intense. And I think that too, like, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with kids is like, well, how are kids going to feel when they are like, I remember when I first moved out and I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want now. And I do think it's a similar feeling the more surveillance that ends up kind of coming up for people.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm glad to see that 2000s fashion is back in style. Not, I will always die by high waisted jeans and pants. I never want to see that go away. Low rise, please. Please. Like, who are you kidding? Like, stop it. First of all, it's so uncomfortable. Second of all, it's so uncomfortable and like it like forces you to feel like you have to have like this tiny skinny body. Like we did a lot. Listen, kids, if you're listening, we did a lot of fucking work to empower people to have different body shapes and different sizes. We are not going back to skinny jeans and tiny crop tops and like bandage dresses. Like we're like, give us a break. Like stop it, we're not doing that. I can understand wanting to dress like retro. Oh my god, it's called vintage now, I think, and like retro, which
It
is
is called
crazy.
vintage, yeah.
I fuck that. I'm so old. I can't. Like I never thought I'd saw that day come, but yeah, like I understand it's trendy to wear vintage. But like y'all, don't. It's a lot better now. Like the way fashion is developed, I vibe with it. So let's not go back. I don't know. I'm against that.
Yeah, the low waisted, I can never. I will not be. My belly button likes to be in its home. I don't like to be out of the home. Let's keep it in there.
Let's keep
Feel
it in
safe and
there.
secure.
No, for sure, for sure. Okay. Well, anyway, nostalgia for a time that is no longer when things appear to be a little bit simpler and less surveilled. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything else you want to add to that? Nick, do you
No,
want
I
to say
mean,
anything?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Did you not wear skinny jeans
I didn't wear. I don't. Well, when?
when you were like younger?
No, I don't think so. I never liked jeans. I always like. I don't know. I was never like a fashion person, I guess, but I don't know. Like, I was always into like just really comfortable oh, what's it called? Sweatpants. I was not a cool kid. Let's just put it that way. I was not. I didn't go to. I didn't. I never went to high school thinking about like, oh,
I love this for you though.
I was just a
Like
band nerd, so I didn't. Or like shorts. I don't know.
like board
What's a-
shorts,
like what?
board
like board
shorts.
shorts,
Wait, what are board shorts? Like
kind of
skateboard
like,
shorts?
kind of.
No,
Like
no. I
like the longer shorts that like I think like you wear to the beach and stuff, like those
Yeah, they have
kind of
like pocket,
longer.
excessive amounts of pockets.
Oh no, I definitely like wearing shorts with a lot of pockets. I definitely
You're a
did that a lot.
trailblazer. You're a
Yeah.
trailblazer, Nick. We love that. But is there anything that you're nostalgic about that like you miss from like your teen or like early 20s that you think, should make a comeback or that you just miss?
I definitely miss life before like before social media and even before cell phones, because that's one of the things. Like I was I came up in a slightly earlier time than you, Gabby, but I didn't even get a cell phone until after I graduated high school. So you know
Oh my
it's
God.
just very interesting because like I was saying, like before we recorded, things changed so fast just between like the I would say like between the mid 90s and the mid 2000 2005ish era, like so much changed.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I remember, I grew up in a very small town of like 15,000 people, a small town that was not anywhere close to bigger towns. So it's very isolated, kind of small town, growing up in. We didn't have like clubs or anything. So I didn't experience that until I was like in my college days, I guess. Even then I was not big of just like going out too much, but, um, what was I going to say? So, like when I grew up, I remember like the first Super Nintendo coming out, and like my neighbor had like Mario and Duck Hunter,
Oh
and
yeah.
and then like I remember my dad building I don't know if anybody's going to know what this is, but a 486. It's like the very first computers. It's like one of these huge tower things, and you could like it was running like MS DOS. Like this is before Windows even came out. So I remember like my dad building a computer, and I could like I don't know I couldn't really do much on it, but
No,
then
those things were like word processors. And that's
yeah,
it.
it was just like nothing. But then I built my own computer. Like I remember right before being in high school, I basically built my own computer and my dad helped me. And it was like Windows 95 or something. It was like super, super old school. But yeah, I guess the thing I'm nostalgic of, and I had, like a few good friends, and we would go mountain biking. And I remember having one of the older cameras. Like it was like 1.3 megapixels. It was like super low quality. Like if you open it up on a computer now, it'd be like a tiny square. um but I miss the days of just kind of like where because we didn't even know about social media or having cell phones at that time. I remember towards the end of my high school years starting to go on like Yahoo Messenger or AOL Messenger. I remember like chatting with some school friends on there.
Yeah.
Um,
But it
and
just
then
wasn't a big part of our lives. Like we were out there like having experiences, like real
yeah,
experiences.
yeah, exactly. It's just we never a time where we weren't even thinking about like how people would perceive us online.
That's it.
It's just very,
That's the
very
word that I've
interesting.
been thinking about. It's like the being perceived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that is it. That's exactly like at the root of like I think a lot of this. And I'm so glad you just said that because it is. It's like we weren't aware of being perceived. So we
Mhm.
just were ourselves. And there was
yeah,
so much freedom in that. And now it's all about we're hyper aware of how we're perceived by other people. And then we want to curate how we're perceived. So we like aren't really as authentic, I think, as like we could be.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
totally.
I was just looking at MySpace came out in 2003, so
Yeah.
that was like in the middle of when I was in college. Like my second year in college, basically. And so I remember kind of like creating a MySpace account and connecting with other people I went to school with and everything. And I remember kind of like it just being kind of a fun thing and not really caring. Even at that point, I wasn't really focused on like numbers, like how many people are following me. Although I think that that came up that probably seemed to start affecting people pretty quickly. And then I was also looking up 2006. That's when Facebook like became available for the public, because before that it was limited to like college and high
Yeah.
school students or something. So it's really
Yeah.
funny to see, like, it's interesting to see, like, after just 3 years of MySpace, that's when Facebook came over, overcame everything. And,
It's all been downhill since then.
yeah, exactly.
I sound so old. I feel like there's like all of these like older people who are like, I remember growing up and they're like, my generation was the best generation. And like, oh, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh no, I'm one of those people now. When was the last time that you let yourself really have fun? I mean, really have fun. That pure, unapologetic, goofy, silly, adventurous kind of fun that you used to have before you became that responsible adult. Look, we all know you're reaching those KPOs at work, you're showing up to Pilates, you're taking care of your kids, you're doing that self-growth work, and all of that is great. But you also need to give yourself time to throw it to the wind and just play. That's just as important when it comes to creating a life that feels joyful and expansive. And that is what Camp Yūgen is all about. Camp Yūgen is the adult summer camp experience for women, by women. We are passionate about bringing women together in community to play, create, travel, and have incredible adventures, all while nurturing and healing the inner child. With curated, all-inclusive luxury trips around the world, Camp Yūgen will transport you to a whole new world, and all you have to do is show up. We take care of everything from breathtaking accommodations to gourmet food, exotic excursions, healing workshops, creative activities, transportation, and of course, pajama parties. Our next trip is coming up in May 2025 for our session in the south of France, and we would love to see you there. You'll be staying at a gorgeous 18th century chateau where you can live out your princess dreams and enjoying activities like daily yoga, breathwork, hiking, horseback riding, crafting, visiting local castles, eating chef-prepared meals, enjoying the pool in the sunshine with your new group of besties, and so much more. Give yourself the gift of relaxation and play and join us today. Visit www.campyugen.com/May2025 to book your suite and get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. That's www.campyugen.com/May2025. See you in France. Oh man. Okay. Well, let's get to these confessions. Okay. And would also love to hear if you have any nostalgic moments, drop it in our comments and share with us. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this person said their ex-retail staff, and she said, or he, I don't know why she or he, trust me, retail staff already knows whether or not they have something you're looking for in the back. So if you refuse to believe them and insist they check anyway, they will just stand in the back having a break from you for 2 minutes, not looking for the item.
Wait, that's so funny. I've never worked retail before, but I could totally see that happening. I have some clients who work in retail, and I definitely think that that's true, more true than not.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever asked for something in the back for people to check in the back?
No, I mean, maybe shoes, but that's like, obviously, that's kind of different because it's like shoe sizes.
True.
But if they're
true.
like, I mean, I'm such a people pleaser, so if they're like, we don't have it, I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry for asking. I apologize.
Our own like neuroses comes out in these moments.
Yeah,
no, I'm
really.
the same. Like, I'm too embarrassed to ask them to look in the back. I feel like that's so aggressive. So again, also people pleasing. I'm just like, first of all, I won't even ask because I don't want to bother them. Yeah, but if I do, then like I'm not making them go to the back. But I worked in retail at Express for a little bit. And that was a hard, listen, it's hard to work in retail and do that kind of customer service. And also your arms are so tired at the end of the day because you're folding and hanging up so many clothes. Like, I would be so appreciative when people would like hang up their shit after they were done trying it on. And then like the people who just left the dressing room messy, I cursed their whole family. And their future generations.
That is me. That is 100% me. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God. Okay. So, well, not you. I love you. So like you're the exception. But yeah. And I worked in, I don't know about you, but I worked in the restaurant industry for like a few years after college. And I worked at some really high end restaurants which by the way, like I worked at Dave & Buster's as my first job, which is chaotic as fuck. But people were like less difficult than when I worked at like a restaurant that's owned by a pretty well-known celebrity celebrity chef.
Mhm.
And I worked at another place that's a Hillstone restaurant. And like those are the difficult clientele. And like they would come in making like demands, things that like I could not change the recipes. I can request that they maybe not add something or whatever, like if you have a dietary restriction. But there were people who were like basically deconstructing entire recipes, and then they'd be like, I want this. And I'm like, I'll ask, but really I went to the back, and then me and all the kitchen staff would make fun of them for like a few minutes. And then I'd come back and be like, I checked with our manager and like, we can't do that. I'm so sorry. But we were totally making fun of them.
I don't have enough thick skin to work in the restaurant industry. I really wanted to bartend for a while, but I just like never got the opportunity to. My entire like young adulthood, I worked with children. And so there wasn't much to talk shit about because they're kids.
That would be so rude.
Kids, you know?
Yeah. I think I'd be like concerned if you were talking shit about like little kids.
Right. And I'm just like, let's just watch like Moana together.
Wait, I went into the wrong field.
It's like my first job ever was working at a gymnastics studio, and I taught like toddlers how to do cartwheels. It was really cute.
Oh my God, that's
and
so
then
cute.
Yeah. And then I worked at summer camps, and then I would work birthday parties. So I would help people I would work at like the bougiest birthday parties in LA, and I would teach kids how to like paint or make slime. Like I would just do art activities with them. And then I became a teacher. So those are my jobs. It's like all children related.
I love that though. Wait, do you have any like stories from working at those like bougie LA parties? Anything like crazy ever happen? Oh my God, please spill.
So much parent drama. It's so wild. Oh, one time, okay, this is the number one thing that I remember. This person, I'm not going to name names, was a very, like everybody knows this person, like without a doubt. And they were caught, the wife, it was a guy, the wife was caught in the bathroom with another man hooking
Shut
up.
At the party?
Kid's birthday party.
Oh,
and
what?
It was really uncomfortable. There was a lot of tension, and she had like been caught with this guy, and then they asked me to like watch the kid because like the party was pretty much over, and the kid was like, "Where's mom and dad?" And I was like, "I can't really tell you, but they're just hanging out and like figuring something out."
Shut the fuck up. That's so wild. And they made you like stay and then watch the kid. Oh my God.
And then I was like, am I being compensated? It was like 2 hours I stayed after because they just like disappeared. And I'm just not leaving the child in like the middle of Santa Monica. Like we were at a venue in Santa Monica. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm like, I know this is a bad time, but like, are you guys going to pay me? Like I was already paid before the party.
Oh my God. That's such a like awkward situation to be in. Like, I can't even imagine like what that was like. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Well, hopefully that kid is in therapy now.
Hopefully, I mean, it was before I met Jay, so it must have been 10 years ago. So that kid definitely is at therapy age.
Damn. Oh man. Yeah, we had our fair share of like celebrities come into the restaurants, like, and I don't think I signed like an NDA, so I can probably talk about some of it, but like it was interesting working with like really high-end clientele. Like some were so nice and some were like really not like at all. And then some, like especially guys, like they definitely were hitting on all the female servers, and like we would go in the back and be like, ugh, this guy is so gross. And they totally were like trying to take us home and stuff, and we're like, we're gonna get kidnapped, like what is going on here? Like this is so uncomfortable. But I will say this is one of my favorite stories, and it's a good story. So when I was working at Hillstone, it was my first like real serving job. Like Dave and Buster's does not count, you guys. But this was like fancy, and like, you know, like you had to like be on your shit, and Hillstone is like very military with their training, and like there's like all these standards and all this stuff that you have to meet. I did get fired from that job because because I wasn't good at it, but I was very friendly. And when I was there, Christian Bale, this was like when he was at the height of Batman, he would come in like all the time with his daughter, who was so sweet, and he would like do homework with her after school. And I remember I waited on him a few times, and he was always so nice. I was, first of all, completely shook when he started speaking, and I realized he was British because I didn't know that. I just knew him. You didn't know that?
No.
No, he's like the most British. He's full British. So like he has a yes, you need to Google this. You need to Google this. I thought he was going to talk like Batman, and I was like such a fucking huge fan of his movies that like I like couldn't even believe I got to like interact with him. But yeah, he's fully British. So that was a shocker. And then the second thing was, it was like the first time I waited on him, and I was so nervous. Like so nervous. I was like 22 years old, like fresh out of college, like just like already anxious at this job because my manager hated me because I couldn't cut it. I wasn't like good enough. But I went up to serve him, and we used to be able to get to try like the daily specials before our shift, right? So like we could describe it accurately, which I miss all the free good food I used to get, expensive, nice food. So that day we had this like pulled pork sandwich. It was, to this day, probably the best pulled pork sandwich I've ever eaten in my life. I'm talking like mouth-watering barbecue sauce, like pickled red onions, like arugula, like on a soft like bun. Like it was just like the best sandwich ever. So he asked what the special was, and I was like shaking, and I immediately went into my food lover mode, and I went for about 2 minutes describing how delicious this sandwich was. And he let me go, like describing it for like on and on and on and on. And I was like, it's the best sandwich I've ever had. It's so good. And then at the end of it, he just like paused, and he was like, sounds like you really like that sandwich. And I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm so embarrassed.
You have such a solid British accent. I love that for you.
Wait, really? Oh, well, thanks. I haven't practiced it in a while. But I remember just being so embarrassed. I was like, I just fangirled the fuck out of this sandwich for like too long. And now Batman thinks that I'm obsessed with this pulled pork sandwich. And that's something I will never forget.
That's hilarious. I still can't get over the fact that Batman is British.
No, he is. And he's a really good dad, doing his homework with his daughter, like every day. Like he would come in at the same time for weeks. And then I think he was shooting another movie, so he didn't come in after that. And then I got fired. But which, by the way, is like the most dehumanizing thing, to have like a bachelor's degree, like cum laude from USC, and like feeling really accomplished in your life. And then to be fired from like a waiting job because like you just couldn't get waters out fast enough. Like I was like, man, I'm never going to make it in this city.
Oh, that's so rough.
It was so rough. I hope he remembers me, and I hope he orders that sandwich if it ever comes on the menu again. Truly.
He's like, I remember this one time this girl was raving about a pulled pork sandwich.
No, I really hope he remembers me. Like that was like probably one of my favorite moments / most humiliating moments living in LA. Are you tired of feeling stuck in cycles of anxiety, depression, or self-doubt? Traditional therapy just not giving you the breakthrough that you deserve? I've been there, and I know how frustrating it can be. It's time to heal from the inside out with the Infinity Program, the ultimate online program for nervous system healing and subconscious reprogramming. Created by a survivor and expert in trauma healing, this self-paced journey uses proven methods like somatic healing, mindfulness, inner child work, and nervous system repair to help you transform your mind, body, and soul. Say goodbye to old patterns and hello to a life of peace, confidence, and self-love. Visit www.omtherapycoaching.com/store and click Infinity to start your journey today. That's www.omtherapycoaching.com/store and click Infinity. And for a limited time, just because you're listening to this podcast, you can get 10% off. Just use the code podcast at checkout. It's time to reclaim your happiness. Your future self is waiting. Guys, I am not a lawyer and I am not going to pretend to be, but I do run a really, really profitable coaching business with lots of things like retreats, one on one mentorship, group programs, online programs, and much more. So it's really important that I protect myself with the right legal documentation. That's why I go to Coaches and Company. They have easy to read, lawyer created contracts without the law firm price tag, perfect for solo entrepreneurs and people just starting out in their business. You can customize templates and use them over and over and over again with confidence that your business is protected. So if you are a service provider or a coach and definitely not a lawyer, visit www.coachesandcompany.com/ref/confessionspod today to get your contracts in order. Or just go ahead and click the link in the show notes and it'll take you right there. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, listen to this. I think this is interesting because you're really into like fitness and like bodybuilding, especially with like weights and stuff, right? And
Oh,
like
yeah.
I always worry about like developing the wrong like shape because I'm doing like the wrong exercises. So this is kind of something like that. So this girl says, as a short and slightly overweight female, I thought my newfound love for hiking would give me an amazing figure. I now have legs of steel and a barrel body. Work in progress, I guess.
Okay, so I had the same fear of like, I'm going to become bulky. And my mom, to this day, no matter how many times I've been working out for over 10 years, and she still does not believe, despite my body, maybe she just thinks my body looks bulky, but she's like, weightlifting will make your body bulky. If your body looks bulky from weightlifting, it's probably a nutrition thing. Weightlifting
Mm,
naturally will not make you bulky. It's just point blank,
mm.
period. If your body doesn't look the way you want it to look, which is like fine, you can desire things for your body, it's a nutrition thing. And majority of women are not eating enough protein and they're eating way too much inflammatory carbs and they're eating highly saturated fat. And so,
Ooh, interesting. So give us like some tips and tricks of like how you feed your body while you're lifting weights to
yes.
like get this desired look that you would like for yourself.
So I think the easiest thing is like just more protein, right? Like in the beginning, more protein is like the easiest way to start. And then there's something called a reverse diet. And I love this concept and I love to share it with women because we think that we need to eat less in order to lose weight. And to a certain degree, true, like calorie in, calorie out. But we want to recomp our body. We don't want to just lose weight. If we're just losing weight, sometimes we're going to lose muscle too. And we don't have like that lean definition, like body that we want. And so, in order for us to get there, we actually need to increase our metabolism. And so, essentially, it's basically training your body to get used to eating more and still lose weight. And so, for a while, I was eating 12 to 1400 calories, which is what most women do to lose weight. But at one point, I was losing weight when I was eating 3000 calories. And it's because you
Wow.
slowly increase your calories, specifically certain macronutrients to make your body still look hot as fuck and also lose weight and
Oh
not
my
feel
God.
depleted. So,
This is really good information. I'm going to be taking this because I'm on my weight loss journey,
yes.
and I can use all the tips and tricks I can get.
Oh my gosh. Shoot me. I love talking about this shit because it's like it was mind blowing to me, and I've always wanted like I've been on a I want to lose weight for like my whole life, like yo-yo dieting. And when I finally realized I can eat in and out like 2 times a week if I really want to and not gain weight and like progress on my goals, it was like mind blowing.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, I think, I feel so lost because there's so many like amazing workout videos on like TikTok and so many amazing nutritionists and things. And it all feels like so much conflicting information. And like,
Mhm.
but the one thing I have seen consistently is what you're talking
Yeah.
about the reverse dieting, about like the increasing protein. And I've increased my protein like a crazy amount as I've been like working out more and like really trying to like lose the baby weight, and it has made such a huge difference, and it is almost like hard to eat that much protein. Like it's a challenge.
It definitely is not the easiest if you're not used to it. There was a point where I was consuming like 160 grams of protein, but most women only really need like 120 grams. If you're just starting out, like 100 grams is fine. So, like, to give you like a visual, because I know not everyone knows how much, like, how many grams of protein, I can kind of like, I'm like a calculator at this point. It's like essentially like your hand, your palm's worth of protein per, like, on your plate. And so, like
Ah,
a chicken
okay.
cutlet, a steak, some ground beef. If you don't like to eat meat, bone broth, chugging. I drink a cup of bone broth every morning, and that's like
Same.
around 15 grams of protein, and I'll drink 2 cups, and that's 30 grams already. So like you're almost halfway there.
I love that. Bone broth has changed the game for me, like in so many different ways. I make my own from scratch. I think you do too, right?
Yeah, lately
Yeah.
I haven't been. I've been buying it from the farmer's market. I've been cheating, but it's okay.
Hey, you know what? Like farmers market bone broth is probably great. But yeah, no, like having a cup of that every single morning before anything else. And I've been adding like 20 grams of what's it called? Collagen protein to the bone broth. So on
Mhm,
top of the
mhm.
bone broth, like I'm also adding that. And I feel like
Mhm.
so good every single day. And I think that's really been like something that's changed for me because I can't eat like a shit ton of animal protein. I just like, I don't have the appetite. I'm also on liraglutide, so like eating anything is like difficult. But this has been awesome, and my skin, my hair, like it's just like everything is like glowing in such a different way. And so now I'm like a
Mhm.
bone broth addict for sure.
That's amazing. I love that. Bone broth is so good. It is an easy way for people to like get in some protein for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember like when I read this, I was laughing because I immediately thought of this like time when I was in high school. I joined the swim
Mhm.
team. We had like I love to swim.
Mhm.
Not competitively, I've never done that, but we had a swim team that like formed and I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." And we would do an insane amount of laps like 3 or 4 times a week for practice.
Uh-huh.
And at first, I was like, wow, like my body is getting so like muscular and amazing. And then I ended up developing because like, they had me doing like the backstroke and the butterfly. My pecs and my shoulders got so fucking jacked that I literally quit because I was like, I can't. I look like a triangle. Like I don't want to have this body shape, and it's like it's not for me. But I remember that happening, and that was really funny. I like looked in the mirror and I was like, I have like massive traps and like pecs, and like
Hey, that's
this is
so
not
good
what I
though,
want.
because like detrained is a thing. So like if you start working out, those muscles will come back easier than the remaining of your muscles. And so knowing that
True.
you have that history, you can then focus more on your lower body if that's what you want to build up.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well,
Mhm.
shall be seen. It remains to be seen. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's journey is different, but having this information is really helpful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Besties. Oh man. Well, this has been fun, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found some humor in it and some escape as things can be quite crazy in life and in the world. And we love having you here. So if you want to join us, we do have our retreat coming up. Don't forget. And we have a few spots left for that. And we're all going to be hanging out together. It's going to be a great opportunity to meet some awesome friends and have adventures in the south of France. And we would really love to see you there. And feel free to comment, leave us a review, and send us your confessions because we'd love to read them on the show. All right, guys. Until next time. See ya.
Bye.